It's not often, but sometimes I look at myself and I think like, shit, maybe I'm not made for that. Maybe I'm not who I thought I was. And it's a weird thought to have, considering that I'm one of those delusional persons. You know, those type of people that like they believe in themselves so much that it's impossible to deny the end of it. Like, this conversation is basically a thought that I had during a shift in my job, where I was talking to this 70-year-old guy from Florida. He was doing kind of like here in Portugal we have a, how can I call that, a hike that is called the Camino, which is it's a I don't know, 200-mile walk from Portugal to Spain, and there's another one that comes from Northern Europe that goes down until Portugal. And this dude did the one that comes from Northern Europe till Portugal, which is 500 and something miles. It took, I think it was 30 something days to conclude that. And he's 70 years old. So we were talking a lot. It was me, him, his wife, and his friend that did the same path. They walked the same path. And we were talking about restarts, renewing your life, like redirecting your path, and sitting down, thinking again how to approach that same thing, or like how to change your ways to get to the main objective that you set for you. He was telling me one thing that got to my mind and it stuck with me. And he told me, when I was 35 years old, I left my wife and kids and my home. I don't remember where it was, but I think it was Colorado. But he left it and he went to another state in the US to restart. He left his wife and kids, everything he built, and he left to another state to restart his career, to restart what gave his family a ground to be, gave his family like a house, gave his family food. He stopped that and he restarted because he felt like he needed to restart. And then he came back with a better career, earning 5 times more, and he gave his family a way better life than he was given before because he decided to restart. And he looked at me and he was like, "How old are you?" And I told him like, "Oh, I'm 24." And he told me, "Oh, I was 35 when I did that." And I think you shouldn't be afraid of maybe trying to restart one day. And that got to my head so bad. Like I'm spending like days and days going to work thinking like, maybe I have to restart. Maybe I have to like not be afraid of failure. And this is when this conversation got to me. Like, this is when I thought about making this video. And the idea of restarting couldn't get out of my head because I knew that restarts happen to be because of failure. Like, you can't restart something if you haven't failed at it, because otherwise, why would you restart it? Okay, you reached your main objective. You got there. You thrived. You're your best. You got everything you wanted. But then when you got there, you realized that's not what you wanted. That what you wanted was a different thing, and you were just searching for the wrong things. Isn't that a failure? And then that idea got to my head, and I got stuck with that. And I've been thinking about it for days now. I remembered this analogy that I had in my head when I came to Portugal, which is the video game life. Well, you play an RPG, right? And then you start at this point, and you're gonna end up in this point, right? And it's a straight line. Like, you're gonna start at this point, you're gonna end up in this point. There's no way of turning back from it. The end point is always gonna be that one. But in the middle of it, this straight line of story goes sideways. It does loops. You have to kill this guy and then that guy, and then you have to be better at this. You have to be better at that. And while building yourself and confronting bosses, you gotta go back, and sometimes you gotta just restart. Like, for example, I was playing Star Wars Fallen Order, Jedi Fallen Order, and when I went to confront this last boss, I couldn't do it. So I went back, and I went back to that other planet, and I started building myself more, gathering more resources, more abilities, more different things, so I can get to that last boss. And then when I got there, it was so easy that I was shocked. I was like, wow, I was struggling to do that. And this is basically what he was telling me that day. He was telling me, like, your objective was the same thing. Like, your main goal was the same thing. Like, for example, to him was to give his family a good life, to build his family. And he just restarted it, found a different approach to do what he dreamed about. This is kind of like scary because it comes with failure. You know, when you got to restart, you're restarting because you failed somehow, or because you got there and it's not what you wanted. So that's failure. And that kind of scared me and made me realize that everything can be overcome. Everything, like, you can overcome everything you want. But you got to deal with the idea of failure. It doesn't matter how good you are, doesn't matter how bound to that you are. Like, for example, I believe that I'm bound to work with fashion, and that's my purpose, that's my thing. I've learned about it for years now, and I'm good at it. But at the same time, the thought of having to fail in the middle of the road scares me. Like, it's a weird thing. Like, you know that the process has lumps. Like, you know that you're gonna have, like, something that blocks you in the middle of it. But the idea of that scares you. One day I get there and I break something. What am I gonna do? And this was something that I was talking to Ricardo about, this friend of mine. He lives in Canada. And we were talking about it because we went to Brazil last month. It's to see my mom, my hometown, and him to see some friends. But on our way to there, he dropped his camera and he broke his lens, $3,000 lens. And I dropped my camera and I broke my lens, and it's the only lens I had, and I had no money to buy another. And then he looked at me and he said, yo, I just did the same thing you did, but when I did it, the Holy Spirit looked at me and he said clearly to me, you got to learn how to overcome. You got to learn how to work with what you have, and you got to learn how to overcome your problems with what you have. I gotta be able to work with what I have, and I gotta be able to overcome with what has been presented to me. I gotta be able to evolve, to renew, to be better every time with what I have. Restarting is not a waste of time nor giving up. Restarting is courage to acknowledge your weakness, acknowledge that you need to overcome and learn about the things that you're trying to overcome so you can deliver better results and improve on yourself. So it's not a weakness. You're being strong enough to realize that you lack on abilities to get what you need to get. And I know it's like simple talk, like, oh, okay, we all know that. But it's something that my generation don't know about. I see people like 24-year-olds doing wellness routine and not being able to work a 9 to 5 because they think it's too stressful for themselves. You know what I'm talking about? Like, we are all weak because we think that everything must be easy because we gotta be successful all the time. But it's not like that. And acknowledging that and going back and gathering resources to be better and overcome that, it's not weakness. It's actually being strong. I said it before and I'll say it again. My YouTube is basically things that I like to post. And if I want to speak in English, that's what I would do. There's no main reason for it. No, like, oh my God, I'm doing this to get to a broader audience or anything. No, I just fuck with the language. You know what I'm saying?